Let's call this committee of the whole meeting for April 2nd, 2024 to order. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Yamas.
Here.
Alderwoman Garza.
Here.
Alderman Masiacos.
Present.
Alderman Donnell.
Here.
Alderman Franco.
Here.
Alderman Seville.
Here.
Alderman Tolliver. Alderwoman Smith. Here. Alderman Bugg.
Here.
Alderwoman Bade.
Here.
Alderman Lash.
Present.
Alderman Warman.
Here.
Mayor Urban is present.
Alderman Bugg requires permission to participate remotely per section 2-80 based on a reasonable anticipation of an extended illness. Is there a motion to allow Alderman Bugg to participate remotely? Motion made by Alderman Seville.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Garza. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries by voice vote. Is there approval of the minutes of
So
Tuesday,
moved.
March
Second.
19, 2024? Motion made by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Garza. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries by voice vote. Mr. Muhammad?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Welcome to our first meeting of the second quarter. And so we're going to do a quick recap of some of the community affairs things that have happened since our last meeting, and then honor to Recognition Month that we have for April. So at our last COW, we honored Q Strouder for National Developmental Disability Awareness Month, but honoring for Women's History Month. We honored a number of other women throughout the community as well, including celebrating a centenarian, actually a centenarian plus 2 years old. And we don't have sound.
We'll get sound.
Yeah, so that's second. Yeah, Miss Amy was a character there.
Wow.
Let's test it out here. I'm going to give them a 30 seconds here.
Oh. Yeah, don't do it.
You know, it's a little like deja vu like last week. We're going to
Yes.
get this working here.
It's time to move.
I knew that would bring up that conversation.
Oh.
Okay. Well, we'll do a walkthrough. It's going to honor 3 different sections of women and then highlight a couple of our cultural events of the last couple of weeks. And before we celebrate and recognize National Sikh Awareness and Appreciation Month and wrap up with National Poetry Month. So we have special guests here from both communities as we celebrate them both. We're still waiting on our tech. We'll keep the still shot on Miss Amy Scott here.
I'm going to be 102 one day. I said I'm going to celebrate my 170th birthday one day. Right here.
I'll keep testing. I see one finger up at the door, meaning one more second here.
Shall I sing?
Yeah, there we go. Well, we'll come back and catch up on the videos. Let's go ahead with the presentations as we have fit here. This month is National Sikh Awareness and Appreciation Month as we recognize and honor our Sikh neighbors and friends here in Aurora and from the Illinois Sikh Community Center. Although we generally don't do invocations at COW, we are honored to have today the head priest of Illinois Sikh Community Center, Mr. Mohinder Singh. We're going to ask him to please join us and lead us in an invocation. Thank you. If we can all stand, please.
Thank you everyone. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. O Master of all ages, O Master of all eternity, Supreme Master, the Divine Truth, I bow to you. Dear Lord, you are our Father, our Mother, our brother, our relative, and our friend. You protect us at all places. You are the truth. You are the creator and the self-created, without fear or enmity. You are beyond birth, beyond death. Your light is spread in all your creation and each one of us. Lord our God, with your grace, Illinois State has declared and designated the month of April as a Sikh Awareness and Appreciation Month. Today in this gathering, City of Aurora Mayor and City Council members are doing the same and issue the proclamation to the Sikh community. We thank you for the opportunity you have bestowed upon us to spread your compassion, love, and understanding. Among the residents of City of Aurora, please guide us today in this gathering. Give us spiritual wisdom, dispel the darkness of ignorance, and give us strength to do the best we are capable of. Give us focus, and let us not waver. Let us not be self-willed. Keep us away from slander, malice, greed, and attachment. Let us not harbor hatred against anyone. Loving God, we pray for world leaders, for compassion, strength, wisdom, and guidance to their decisions. We may reach out in solidarity to our brothers and sisters in need. We may walk on your path so that peace and justice become a reality for the world. As we sing your glory and pray for peace amongst us and throughout this world, may our spirits always remain high. We pray for the welfare of all. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. And now we'll have the official proclamation from the mayor. We invite all members of our Sikh community to join the mayor in the center.
Please, come on. You want to stand on that side, brother? A little closer. There you go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right. It is my honor to read this proclamation for Sikh Awareness and Appreciation Month, April 2024. Whereas Sikhs have been living in the United States for more than 120 years, and during the early 20th century, thousands of Sikh Americans worked on farms, in lumber mills, and in mines, and on the Oregon Pacific and Eastern Railroad. And whereas Sikhism is the 5th largest religion in the world, and today there are more than 25 million Sikhs worldwide, and have an estimated 500,000 Sikh Americans and 25,000 Sikhs in the state of Illinois. And whereas Sikh Americans pursue diverse professions and make rich contributions to the social, cultural, and economic vibrancy of the United States, and whereas with a focus on equity and inclusion, the City of Aurora is committed to making sure everyone has a seat at the One Aurora table, and appreciate our Sikh community for their community service efforts and for being represented on the Aurora Interfaith Alliance. And whereas the City of Aurora encourages all residents to take the opportunity to better understand, recognize, and appreciate the rich history and shared experience of Sikh Americans. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Richard Irvin, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 to be Sikh Awareness and Appreciation Month in the city of Aurora, and encourage all Aurora residents to get to know our Sikh neighbors throughout the year. Let's give them a round of applause.
Looking ahead. And representing the Sikh community with words, the Attorney Advisor, Natasha Grover. You can stay there.
Thank you, Mayor, and esteemed members of the Aurora City Council for this recognition. Sikhism is the fifth largest religion in the world, originating in India in 1469. We believe in one God, and our faith is anchored in core principles of equity, unity, equality, hard work, and selfless service. Our Holy Scripture emphasizes inclusivity and respect for all individuals. It also advocates for gender equality. In our holy book, it states, "In a woman, man is born. Why denounce her, the one from whom even kings are born?" Sikhs actively engage with their communities, volunteering at homeless shelters like Hesed House, and joining disaster relief efforts by setting up food and medical camps. Our temples are called Gurdwaras, which translates to Guru's Door. And we have 3 Gurdwaras in the Chicago area, Wheaton, Chicago, and Palatine, and they're open to everyone regardless of faith. During COVID, these Gurdwaras cooked and distributed free food daily to families from all backgrounds. The tradition of free food service was started by our first guru in 1500, symbolizing the sharing of one's bounty. Gurdwaras worldwide serve daily free meals prepared by volunteers. Driven by our belief in justice, many Sikhs have served in the U.S. military as early as World War I. Whilst the earliest Sikh immigrants, as Mayor Irvin mentioned, were farmers, we have since diversified into many different areas. Notable Sikhs include comedian Lily Singh, author and poet Ruby Kaur, and I just heard we're doing our Poet Appreciation Day, month. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, fashion designer Mac Dougall, and CEO of World Bank Ajay Bhangra. There are approximately 700,000 Sikhs in the U.S. and 25,000 Sikhs in Illinois. Sikh men are easily recognized by their uncut hair, turban, and beard, which is a tenet of their religion and represents our connection to God and duty to protect all. We are your neighbors, PTA members, and community volunteers. We welcome any questions and encourage you to visit and share a free meal at our Gurdwaras in the area. It is through dialogue that we can foster understanding and dispel misconceptions. On behalf of all the Sikh American community, we deeply appreciate the City of Aurora recognizing the contributions of Sikh Americans to the fabric of this great nation. Thank you, Mayor Irvin, City Council, and staff for this recognition and acknowledgement. Thank you.
A round of applause for our Sikh community. We'll do one more picture now that we have other guests here. We'll do one more picture. We can try to close in as best we can. Round of applause to our Sikh community.
happening today.
We have sound. We'll come back to that. April's also National Poetry Month, where we honor poets and their poems and just their contributions to our community. As we know, we've had a poet laureate now for 4.5 years. She was serving a 2-year term, did another 2 years. We say it's because of COVID, but it's really we just wanted to keep her around there. But we are launching tomorrow, as we celebrate National Poetry Month, our new application for the next Aurora Poet Laureate and Youth Poet Laureate. And so it will be at aurora-il.org/poet laureate, and we'll spend this month accepting applications from adults and youth. And in the month of May, the mayor and his ad hoc team will select our next poet laureate. But for 4 years, she certainly has been a voice under this banner. For 20 plus years, she's been a voice in this community as a former staff member here at City Hall, but she's done a yeoman's job as our inaugural poet laureate, working with the schools, working with the community, posting daily on social media. She's really been the voice of our community. As she joins the mayor, please give a big round of applause for our poet laureate, Karen Christensen.
You know, there can only be one first, and to have Ms. Christensen be our first poet laureate for the city of Aurora, someone who cares and has been around Aurora, giving back so much, has been an honor for us. And because of the honor that we feel and the great job that she has done over these 4.5 years, I'd like to give her the Mayor's Award of Excellence, presented to Karen Christensen, for serving as the first ever Aurora Poet Laureate and for being deemed the city's Poet Laureate Emeritus. You will be our Poet Laureate forever.
Big round of applause for Ms. Karen Christensen.
Thank you. I'm also the shortest poet laureate ever. It has been a pleasure and an honor, and as I've said to everyone, I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be here. I'll still keep doing what I'm doing, and I hope that you will know and understand in your heart that art is the thing that unites all of us. It's so important, and I'm so proud to be part of a city to create a position for a poet laureate. This is quite remarkable. At a municipal level, it's quite amazing. So it's just another first for Aurora and something that makes me proud to call this my hometown. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Big round of applause for Ms. Karen Christensen, the city's now Poet Laureate Emeritus. Thank you so much for your leadership, Karen. We look forward to continuing to work with you. Although we're out of Women's History Month, she certainly is a woman who's made history here in the city and continues to do so. We talked about Q Strouder just a few minutes ago and the work she's doing as our greeter. A couple other women here in Aurora as well.
He is 102 years young. Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin declared yesterday Amy Scott Day in Aurora. People at Ascension Living, Fox Knoll Village came together with signs to celebrate the longtime Aurora resident. She enjoyed cake and her favorite meal, biscuits, gravy, and orange juice. That's a good sounding meal. Yeah.
So 102 years old. We had a great time with her representing her birthday and Women's History Month. We also were featured on the national TV scene by another a woman history maker here in Aurora as well.
An Aurora realtor will be on TV this weekend. Sheena Baker, we're seeing right here, of the Sheena Baker Group, is part of a new House Hunters episode on HGTV. Baker helps a single mother find her first house outside of Chicago. The episode airs at 9 p.m. our time. Baker's family and friends are holding a viewing party downtown. How exciting.
I know, right?
Congratulations to her.
Very pretty, too.
I know, right?
We tell Terrell to calm down, Rick. Calm down. We had a great celebration with Sheena as her episode aired, and you can watch it on demand on HGTV. Just a great spotlight on Aurora. Sheena's also a consultant with the Mayor's Office of Economic Development, helping with some of our commercial real estate projects as well. Since our last COW meeting, we also held the State of Economic Development for the city of Aurora, where another woman, Aurora, the goddess of the dawn, was featured in the form of 5 different models.
In a dramatic presentation in Aurora today as the city unveiled its new goddess logo for the downtown district.
This is the city of Aurora! We are one Aurora! We are one Aurora!
5 local business owners were recruited to walk a gold runway and pose in a recreation of the new logo. The design is a nod to the Roman goddess of dawn, also named Aurora.
It's a new Aurora downtown logo, personified by 5 downtown business owners: Carolina Ocampo, of Maria Bonita Modeling, Abby Kempf, we know of Leilani Asian Fusion, Shannon Gutierrez of Wickwood House, Shruti Harish, APS Academy, and Fatima Kahiga of Pure Skin Solutions. So these women represent not only just our racial diversity, but our business diversity with women business owners and business leaders in the downtown. And you'll see them all throughout the summer, including an unveiling of the full Aurora Downtown campaign coming up here soon, but you'll see them at parades and the like. But as the mayor pointed out, it really represents our inclusivity of Aurora, black, white, Indian, Asian, Latino, as we move Aurora forward, one Aurora at the One Aurora table. Speaking of inclusivity and diversity.
Honoring Greek Independence Day at noon, the city will hold a Greek flag-raising ceremony at One Aurora Plaza. Today marks the 203rd anniversary of Greek Independence Day. The council's only Greek American member will be leading the ceremony alongside Mayor Richard Irvin.
Thank you to Alderman Ted Masiakos for helping to lead the Greek flag raising ceremony, a beautiful celebration. Although the weather was inclement, we held it indoors at North Island Center. I may have started a new tradition here. It was a great time there that we had Gyro Pit, of course, on Indian Trail, sponsoring our food. We look forward to many, many more flag raisings in the future here. We have another 10 to go for the city. And this weekend, 2 other aldermen were in the spotlight as well for their Easter celebration.
Aurora residents celebrated Easter yesterday with 2 big family events. There were thousands of Easter eggs to find in Martin Luther King Park. The fun was followed by free tacos, because anything free is always fun, right?
Tacos are a must.
That's right. Temporary tattoos and face painting.
The family took photos with the Easter Bunny and went for an egg hunt in McCarthy Park. They also went home with Easter baskets.
Very nice.
So congratulations to Ward 7 Alderman Brandon Tolliver on his inaugural community event. Great job. Beautiful turnout, more than 500 families. And to our Ward 2 Alderwoman Wani Garza for her annual Easter egg hunt. Just a massive turnout in McCarty Park. Alderwoman Garza. Thank you. And then lastly, last week, we honored the Hilby family, our young track star, Mayor Pro Tem.
The fastest teen in Aurora gets a big party, and he didn't run away from the celebration. The city honored Patrick Hilby for winning the 800-meter national championship. He had already won the state title. He ran the 800 in 1:48.47. Aurora says July 23rd, which happens to be his birthday, will be Patrick Hilby Day in the city. He's running off to the University of Wisconsin in the fall.
We look forward to seeing Patrick's outdoor season. He still has, he says, records to break before he heads off to Wisconsin. And then lastly, this was to come before the presentation.
Today, the City of Aurora honors National Sikh Awareness and Appreciation Month. Members of Aurora's Sikh community will join Mayor Richard Irvin at tonight's City Council meeting to celebrate the start of Punjabi New Year. There are an estimated 10,000 Sikhs living in the Chicago area.
So thank you again to our Sikh community. Thank you to Karen Christensen for National Poetry Month. That concludes the report, Mayor.
Another round of applause for all of our awardees. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we're going to start the regular portion of our agenda. Now, I know sometimes what we talk about here at City Council can be very riveting, and everybody wants to stay and hang out with us. But I know that people, especially our young people here, probably have to get home and do some study and get ready for school tomorrow. And hopefully, if the snow allows them to attend. So I will give you the opportunity at this point to file out if you choose to. But if you want to stay and go over the meeting with us, feel free to. But if not, I'll give everyone a few minutes that are here for the presentations to head out. All right, seems like everyone that wanted to leave has left the council chambers. At this time, we'll go on to the public comment portion of our agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public wishing to offer public comment?
We do, Mr. Mayor.
Will you call the first speaker?
I'm going to read the...
I'm sorry, read the rules of public comment.
Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, all persons shall be permitted an opportunity to address public officials under the rules established and recorded by the council. Under our rules, any person may address the committee of the whole for up to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for all public comment. No person other than the timekeeper or the chair for the purpose of maintaining order may interrupt a person recognized for public comment during his or her comments. Members of the committee of the whole shall not engage with nor respond to a speaker during the time set aside for public comment. Staff is directed to follow up with members of the public with respect to any concerns raised during public comment within the scope of the city's authority following the adjournment of this meeting.
Madam Clerk, will you now call the first speaker wishing to offer public comment?
Sue Harvey.
Ms. Harvey, you have 3 minutes to speak beginning now. Feel free to adjust the microphone.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Sue Hardy, and as a Christian, I have taught and served in Aurora in numerous ways. I've taught at Brady School in both paid and non-paid positions, Aurora Public Library, Aurora World Relief, and Aurora Community Christian Church's Kids Services. For many years, I led and developed CCC's kids team for Brady School's Gift Mart, one of several gift marts CCC holds for Aurora schools each December. I've done fundraising for Emmanuel House, now the Neighbor Project, a wonderful Aurora neighborhood revitalization organization. When my son attended IMSA in Aurora, I brought him and other IMSA residents, students to help with that fundraising. This same Christian faith that brought me to Aurora to teach and serve now calls me to stand before you and request that you put a resolution for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza on your April 9th agenda and vote to approve it. I also request that you meet with our leaders to discuss it. So many times, situations like the one in Gaza seem like too far away to concern us in the United States. My Christian faith says that's not true. Here is what my Christian faith tells me from the Bible, Matthew 22, verses 36 through 40. A question was asked to Jesus, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" And he said to him, "You shall love your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and foremost commandment. And a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments depend the whole law and the prophets." So to show my love for God and to follow what God says and love others as myself, I'm to treat them the way I want to be treated. I do not want what is happening in Gaza to happen to me or my family, to you and your families, to Aurora, and to anyone, anywhere in the world. The Bible also tells me and clarifies how the treatment should be in Matthew 25, 37 through 40. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you?" And the King God will answer and say to them, "Truly I say to you, to the extent that you did it to one of these brothers and sisters of mine, even to the least of them, you did it to me." So as a Christian, I understand that I am responsible not only for what I do for those in need, for what I don't do. And all of us in the rooms, yourselves included, know the horrors of what's happening in Gaza. I'm doing what I can, using my power to speak up to you on behalf of those in need of help. How many of you are in support for the ceasefire? Thank you. So council members and mayor, please help us work together to end this awful suffering. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, you call the next speaker.
Nancy.
Ms. Nancy, you have 3 minutes to speak beginning now.
My name is Nancy Baez. I live in Bugs Ward number 9 here in Aurora. Freedom, equality, sovereignty, democracy, or the enemy of communism has been the flag waved by the U.S. to justify 469 military interventions since 1798. 251 of those interventions occurred just since 1991. These interventions wiped out entire people groups, cultures, economies for generations to follow. The goals, questionable, but always said to be equality, basic freedoms, sovereignty, yet those are the same goals of the Palestinian people, and the U.S. is supporting its oppressor. Throughout my education, as I learned of the Holocaust, and each year hearing more and more details, the collective thought and expressions by us, the students, centered on just how in the world could this have happened? How could anyone let this happen? There was an underlying thought that the moment the U.S. knew what was happening, she leapt into action to stop it. Yet the reality is the St. Louis, the German liner carrying just under 1,000 Jewish refugees, was rejected at our shores, returning back to Europe, leading to the death of many of those passengers. The Holocaust, a sick, demented display of humanity. Anti-miscegenation laws, segregation laws, genocide, atrocities in the name of ethnic cleansing. To our shame, we can't place all of that just on Hitler because he and his leaders modeled their playbook from the U.S. They saw our westward expansion, our eugenics, and our Jim Crow era racism and laws and said, that's what we'll do. Whitman wrote, moreover, the ironic truth is that when Nazis rejected the American example, it was sometimes because they thought the American practices were overly harsh. For Nazis of the early 1930s, even the radical ones, American race law sometimes looked too racist. Our dollar bills say, in God we trust. What God? What God are we talking about? As a Christ follower, I read the words of Jesus and read about the things he did, and they do not look like the supporting of an oppressive state to ethnically cleanse another. They certainly do not look like the supporting of murderers to maintain political interest and positions. Moreover, Jesus rebuked Peter for slicing the ear off of a soldier in the garden, even though Peter was attempting to protect Jesus. It was just the ear. That certainly isn't the continued supplying of weapons as a people starve, houses and every other structure decimated. This is not my God. He rebuked Peter for cutting off the ear. Imagine killing and starving an entire people group. We need a ceasefire now. We need you to put the resolution for a permanent ceasefire, not temporary,
Thank you,
but
ma'am.
permanent.
Madam Clerk, call the next speaker.
Monsef.
Sir Monsef. Monsef. Call the next speaker.
Nadia Kanai.
Ms. Kanai, you have 3 minutes to speak beginning now.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Nadia Kanhai, and I use she, her pronouns. I believe most of you know me, but for others, I am a longtime resident of Ward 4 and the proud parent of 2 thoughtful and successful East Aurora grads. I wear many hats, but tonight I represent the leadership of both the Northern Illinois Conference of the United Methodist Church and the City of Aurora's Indian American Community Outreach Advisory Board as the vice chair, and request a resolution for immediate, permanent, and durable ceasefire in Gaza, which will benefit Aurora residents and taxpayers as you continue to hear their personal stories tonight. It's hard to believe that I've known some of you for 20 years. We've moved in parallel but connected paths. You're in municipal leadership. I'm in faith community leadership. I'm an elected delegate of representing the 75 to 80,000 United Methodists across northern Illinois, including thousands in Aurora. We meet this month in Charlotte for legislative committees and international plenaries. I refer you to the statement from our United Methodist Council of Bishops, one of which you may know, Bishop Tracy Smith Malone, as a direct Aurora connection, as she served a congregation right here in town. For your convenience, I've already emailed the bishop's ceasefire statement to you, along with information regarding our ongoing Methodist-Muslim relationship. The city's Indian American Board has not yet had the opportunity to fully discuss and vote on this resolution. However, as an advisory board representing Aurora's fastest growing community, I share a portion of a public statement our board has previously made. the City of Aurora's Indian American Community Outreach Advisory Board proudly embraces Mahatma Gandhi's principles and philosophy as part of our civil discourse. Every form of peaceful protest and rejection of violence. Recognizing that violence begets violence, we condemn all systems of oppression and all forms of discrimination. As a champion of justice awardee and Wall of Witness honoree myself, I reiterate our respectful request for a resolution for ceasefire in meetings with alderpersons. This isn't a call for boycotts, divestiture, or sanctions, just life. Peace, salam,
Thank you.
shalom, shanti.
Madam Clerk, will you call the next speaker?
Zia Wajid.
Ma'am, you have 3 minutes to speak beginning now.
Gusia Wajid. Hello, members of the City of Aurora. Thank you for giving me the time to speak to you today. My name is Gusia Wajid, and I live in City of Aurora, Ward 8. I also sit on the Indian American Community Outreach Advisory Board as a secretary. The City of Aurora Indian American Community Outreach Advisory Board stands for unity in community. We support the right of all people, working together for justice and equality. As Nadia mentioned, the Indian American community proudly embraces Mahatma Gandhi's principles and philosophy as part of our civil discourse, every form of peaceful protest, the rejection of violence. Recognizing that violence begets violence, we condemn all systems of oppression and all forms of discrimination. I'm here to speak on the dire situation unfolding in Palestine. We cannot remain silent in the face of such injustice or turn a blind eye to the suffering of our fellow human beings. I urge your support for this resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Palestine. The relentless bombings, the cries of children, the anguish of parents burying their loved ones, these images haunt me, as I'm sure they haunt you too. The situation in the region has escalated to a point of crisis, with innocent lives being lost and communities torn apart by violence. As representatives of our city, it's our duty to speak out against injustice and advocate for peace. The ongoing conflict in Palestine has resulted in countless casualties, including children, women, and civilians who are caught in the crossfire. It is a humanitarian crisis that demands our attention and action now. By supporting this resolution, we send a clear message that our city, Aurora, stands for peace, justice, and human rights. We stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine who have suffered for far too long. I urge each of you to consider the impact of your decision today, not just as leaders, but as fellow human beings and as parents. Our support for this resolution is not just a symbolic gesture, it's a concrete step towards ending the suffering of innocent civilians and promoting peace in the world. Let us be on the right side of the history. Let us stand for peace. Let us unite in support of Palestine's ceasefire resolution now. Thank you for your time, thank you for your attention, and thank you for consideration.
Madam Clerk, call the next speaker.
Hatem Iga.
Mr. Guy, you have to misspeak beginning now.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening. I'm standing before you today as someone with a strong connection to Gaza. Most of my direct and extended family still live there. Between me and my wife, we lost over 200 members. This is in addition to scores kidnapped and many missing without a trace. The ones who were released were utterly tortured and now having debilitating health conditions. It has been a devastating few months for sure, and the pain continues. Today, I want to bring a mental picture of what is going on in Gaza and why we're here asking for a resolution to cease fire. Allow me to use Aurora as my theater. The attack on Gaza destroyed over 80% of its buildings and almost all of its infrastructure. Now imagine what Aurora would look like if this happened. Imagine that IMSA where my son went to school is a pile of rubble. Imagine that Paramount Theater where his commencement ceremony took place is now flattened. Imagine that all your loved memories, where your first child was born, where you baptized your daughter, and where your son's bar mitzvah was held, all are now gone. Imagine your grandfather's classic car and your cradle which you passed to your children and grandchildren are now no more. Destroyed. Imagine, and imagine. All gone, all your memories are erased. Aurora now is Dresden 1945 and Gaza 2024. Just imagine. During this destruction campaign, Gaza amassed 108,000 wounded and killed, and still counting. The city you are presiding over just lost 60% of its residents, and the remaining are living zombies, living dead, hungry, thirsty, sick, cold, homeless, and scared. That is what's left. Not only that, but Aurora is also besieged, and as the superpowers decreed, no water, no food, no medicine, and no fuel goes in, no people leave or come in without permit. We live under the piercing, buzzing sound of surveillance and attack drones above us 24 hours a day. We all thought Hunger Games was a dystopian story, but just found it's real, and it's playing live before our eyes while humanity is taking a deep, deep sleep. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you that once upon a time, there was a place where people were imprisoned, were deprived from food and water, and were thrown into ovens to burn alive. That place has a name. It's Auschwitz. Gaza is today's Auschwitz. Gaza is today's Holocaust. Why do we teach Elie Wiesel's Night, Anne Franklin's Diary, and Louis Laurie's Number the Stars? We sure hope that this dark piece of history doesn't repeat itself. It did. When you leave here today, I just want you to Google search Gaza destruction and look at the videos. You would think you're watching scenes right out of Godzilla -1, but it's real. Friends, I would we kindly ask you to be on the humanity side and add the ceasefire on your agenda.
Call the
Thank
next
you.
speaker, Madam Clerk.
Nadal Jose.
Ms. Jose, you have 3 minutes to speak beginning now.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthem. I don't know how you guys can't cry after that. Okay. I must draw your attention to the ongoing assault in Gaza again. Although this crisis unfolds overseas, my community here, which also includes my family members who reside in Aurora, are calling for your help. The events of October 7th was tragic, but I must highlight what happened afterwards. The NYT article was debunked by Israel's own human rights report, which refuted claims of rape and decapitated babies, although initially provided solace because now Israel's blanket bombings of Gaza would end. I trusted our president would rectify this situation and usher us in peace. Yet he failed, and that resulted in 35,000 innocent civilians dead, half of them children. The catastrophe not only affected those abroad, but that has also inflicted those in my community, and now I'm concerned for the safety of my family members who live in Aurora. In Glendale Heights, Illinois, a visibly Muslim woman like me was leaving Tony's and was egged in front of her 3 little children. 2 women from my local mosque was verbally assaulted by a man at Walmart, necessitating police escort to their car. What was worse was in Plainfield, Illinois, when Wadia Al-Fayoum was stabbed, 6 years old, 26 times, and killed by his own landlord. Children who knew Wadia last night went to Plainfield and said that they were in pain while they drive by his home almost every single day. Wadia's death was shock for parents everywhere. I myself have a park right behind my house, and I had to tell my children we couldn't go to the park because they couldn't go with me. They had to wait for their father to get home because it wasn't safe, and no one would be able to defend us. Now that the assault is only getting worse, our safety concerns here in America are at an all-time high. When are you going to see that there needs to be a change, and that starts with you? That you all have a unique ability to be proxies for us, and this role is vital. You can call on your congressional delegation and ultimately the Biden administration and demand a permanent ceasefire. You can be on the right side of history, so please hear our calls. Look at us as your people. I promise you, we will be with you to stand against any pushback you may calling for this. For the people you represent, call for a ceasefire resolution today. Thank you.
Call the next speaker, Madam Clerk. Next speaker.
Abdullah Khan.
Mr. Khan, you have 3 minutes to speak, beginning now.
Respected members, my name is Abdullah Khan. I live in 985 Park Hill Circle. My ward is 8, and I've been a resident of Aurora for over 8 years. We've gathered here, shared stories with you, stats and numbers with you, just to explain to you how this conflict transcends borders and resonates deep within our hearts. This isn't a distinct conflict occurring in a faraway land. The effects of this are very real and felt here at home, and that's why I insist it's very, very much a local issue. It's an Aurora issue. As mentioned by multiple fellow speakers before, the situation in Gaza is a humanitarian crisis of immense proportions. The magnitude of suffering hasn't been seen in modern history. Thousands killed, homes flattened, the injured don't have a functional hospital to go to, and a famine, the likes of which the world hasn't seen, or at least I haven't. The repercussions of the conflict reverberate far beyond the borders. Blatant hate crimes are on the rise, like the one resulting in the Wadias that right down the street in Plainfield. Feeling safe is every resident's right. And ever since October the 7th, the uptick in hate crimes makes me feel that my safety is compromised and my family's safety is compromised. This is where we turn to you, the leadership, to take preemptive, not reactive decisions. I live here in Aurora. My children go to school here in Aurora. This is an Aurora issue. This is not a foreign issue. Very respectfully, I have a simple question. What will stop us, or what does stop us at all, if at all, from calling for a ceasefire? Is there a stat we haven't hit? Is there a number we haven't reached? Is there a story still left to tell before we decide something? At this moment in history, we look to you as our leaders to show the leadership we expect out of you. Together we stand and say, not in our name, not in Aurora's name. Let's get counted amongst 100 other cities around the U.S. that stand with humanity. Let's be on the right side of history. It is an Aurora issue. I urge you to put a call for a ceasefire on your agenda on your April 9th meeting, and maybe we can schedule meetings with you. Personally, if at all you feel that there's reservations, please make us proud. Stand up for humanity. Stand up for Aurora. Permanent ceasefire now. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, call the next speaker.
Keith Larson.
Mr. Larson, you have 2 minutes to speak, beginning now.
Good evening. My name is Keith Larson. I've lived in the Fox Valley area for my whole life, and I moved to Aurora's 3rd Ward in the summer of 2021. I'm here tonight to voice my support for Aurora to pass a resolution for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. I'm the great-grandson of Jewish refugees who came here to the United States fleeing anti-Semitic violence in Tsarist Russia. My people have been subjected to violence for thousands of years, but many other groups of people have suffered similarly. Today, we are seeing a genocide against the Palestinian people at the hands of a state that claims to represent me and my people, but Israel is not my home. Aurora is. I am one of many anti-Zionist Jews, and likewise, there are many Zionist Jews. I do not speak for the Jewish people. I can only speak for myself. But this is also true of Zionists, most of whom are not Jewish, and this is also true of Israel. No group of people is monolithic, whether Jewish, Palestinian, or otherwise. Zionism, like any ideology, is something people learn to believe and is something that can be unlearned. Jewishness, however, is an immutable identity. Conflating ideology with identity is dangerous and is at the core of anti-Semitism and all other forms of bigotry that has resulted in unimaginable violence against so many people. So when Zionists in Israel, in the U.S., or anywhere else try to defend Israel's genocide of Gaza, by using baseless claims of anti-Semitism as if Israel is interchangeable with Jewishness, know that this is a lie that only stokes the flames of anti-Semitism. Do not be fooled by these lies. As the ICJ correctly stated, Israel is committing a genocide. The history of violence against my people does not excuse the continuation of the cycle of violence by Israel. Your support for the ceasefire does not determine whether or not you stand with Jews. Your support determines whether or not you stand against what has been internationally recognized as a genocide. To me, the correct position is very clear. Aurora is the second largest city in Illinois, and that puts us in a position of great influence. As our representatives, your voices carry the weight of over 200,000. Over 2/3 of U.S. voters support a permanent ceasefire, and despite constant calls and emails sent to representatives for the last 6 months, the federal government is not listening. This is why your voice is so important. Aurora alone cannot end this genocide, but we can inspire surrounding communities who look to Aurora as a leader to speak up for what is right. Passing a resolution would also send a message to our Palestinian neighbors that Aurora cares about them during their time of need. I ask that you please support passing a resolution calling for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza to let Aurora be on the right side of history. Thank you for your time.
Madam Clerk, please call the next speaker.
Salak Khalid.
He's pro-approach. Mr. Khalid, you have 3 minutes to speak beginning now.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Alderman. My name is Salak Khalid. I live in Aurora's Ward 8 and have been an Aurora resident for 26 years. I'd like to use my time to address the claim that a ceasefire resolution falls outside the scope of the City Council. Local and state governments have been passing resolutions to challenge the federal government's policies since the earliest days of this republic. In fact, founding fathers Thomas Jefferson and James Madison both wrote such resolutions on behalf of U.S. states. In 1798, the federal government passed the Alien and Sedition Acts. These laws, passed in the name of national security, were extremely controversial at the time and are widely considered unconstitutional today. In response, Jefferson and Madison both wrote resolutions in opposition that were passed by the states of Kentucky and Virginia, respectively. Moving forward to the 19th century, several American towns from Illinois to Massachusetts mobilized to pass resolutions condemning the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. Under this law, the federal government required citizens of free states to cooperate in the return of escaped slaves, making them complicit in the enslavement of their fellow human beings. Advocates of those local resolutions faced opposition from critics who said that local governments had no business commenting on federal policy concerning interstate affairs, and that they should stay focused on traditional local questions. That argument sounds very familiar, doesn't it? If we fast forward to contemporary times, local governments have passed resolutions to oppose nuclear proliferation, to oppose the Iraq War, to support the signing of climate change treaties, and to oppose U.S. engagement with apartheid South Africa. In the case of anti-apartheid resolutions, city councils were fiercely criticized for getting involved in an international matter. Today, we remember those same city councils for showing leadership and moral courage when Washington failed to do so. What I'm trying to say is that Aurora passing a ceasefire resolution would not be an unprecedented act. Local governments in this country have been using resolutions to amplify the voices of residents and elevate their concerns to the federal government for hundreds of years. My neighbors and I are not asking you to nullify any federal laws. We're not asking you to engage in diplomacy, to contact foreign governments, or to send humanitarian aid. We're asking you to support a ceasefire resolution that addresses an issue of great concern to your constituents. We're asking you to be brave, like Bolingbroke and Villa Park, to follow in the footsteps of past municipal legislators who passed resolutions to stand on the right side of history. Please add it to your agenda. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, call the next speaker.
Jess Knig.
I'm here for the roadway. Next bullet point. Thank you.
Anthony as well.
Yeah, he's part of my team.
Okay, that's it.
All right, that concludes the public speaking portion. Let's go on to of the agenda. Let's go on to committee reports. Chairwoman Patty Smith, can you give the Building, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee report, please?
Sure can. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Building, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee met on March 27th, 2024, and reviewed the following item: 24-0108, a resolution authorizing execution of a roadway agreement for access and roadway improvements on Sullivan Road between Highland Ave and Illinois Route 31 Lake Street in Kane County, Aurora 60506.
No objections,
Consent.
go on consent.
That's, and Mr. Mayor, that is all we had for BZ&E that day.
Thank you very much, Chairman Franco. Can you give the Finance Committee report, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Committee met on March 28, 2024, and reviewed the following items. 23-0961, a resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to purchase a 5-year subscription for grants management software to Dulles Technology Partners Incorporated, Leesburg, Virginia, for $102,800. And because of the number of grants applied for and utilized, the Community Services Department needs software that manages both outbound and inbound grants. The previous vendor only addressed outbound grants with their software.
Consent.
No objections, go on consent.
Next item is 24-0124, resolution to enter into a 3-year enterprise agreement for the purchase of Microsoft software from the State of Illinois Department of Innovation and Technology Joint Purchasing Contract number 1176800 with Dell Marketing LP in an amount of $1,889,555.20.
Consent.
Prices are locked in for 3 years as our software updates. This represents a 9% increase over the previous contract.
No objections, go on consent.
Next one is 24-0142, a resolution to award a contract for science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics, training services from APS Training Academy, 105 East Galena Boulevard, 4th floor, Aurora, Illinois, for a 3-year term with 2 one-year options for a total amount of $2,525,000.
Consent.
And APS will be providing kits, locations, and instructors for the program.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Lesh.
Just a few questions. I see that this contract begins on January 1st, 2020.
Who from staff is able to answer these questions? Mr. Anderson, will you approach, ask the question?
The contract begins January 1st, 2024. Has APPS been teaching students without a contract?
Jeff Anderson, Deputy CIO. They were, my understanding is they purchased kits and classes are about to begin. I don't know the exact schedule of that. We can provide that if that's necessary. I apologize for not having the exact schedule of the classes.
Okay.
Next question.
And then are 100% of the students come from the city of Aurora?
I believe that is a requirement of the program. It has been for the time it's been in. Correct. The 3 years they've been doing it prior to this.
Okay. I was just curious because I saw Judson College as one of the partner remote locations, and that's in Elgin.
I believe that was was that for APS or was that for another? I think there was another provider.
Okay,
one of the three.
So to answer your question is that APS
locations are in Aurora.
In Aurora, and the children that go there are Aurorans?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then do we know how much the percent of APPS annual budget is funded by the city versus other funds, either private fundraising or other grant monies?
That I don't know. I mean, they're a private company, right?
Okay. And then as far as accreditation goes, I saw there were 5 applicants. I'm assuming APPS is not an accredited education institution in the state of Illinois. Were any of the 5?
Good question. I don't have the answer to that right offhand. We can find that out for you, and we can find out APPS accreditation as well.
Okay, and then with respect to their educators, they have 17 listed, not counting their senior staff. Of the 17, one.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put this on unfinished. Why don't you ask those questions beforehand so they'll be aware of the questions you're going to ask. So before we get to city council, you ask those questions, and if you don't get them, then you can ask the questions then. So this is going on unfinished. And why don't you just prepare the questions and get them to the IT so they'll be prepared next time.
Yep.
Next item.
Okay. Next item is 24-0163, a resolution authorizing the city to accept a grant award of $37,680 from the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board. This will allow for continuing of recruitment for qualified and diverse officers. That's it.
No objections, item going consent.
Next one is 24-0167, a resolution authorizing change orders for the remodeling of the City of Aurora Public Safety Answering Point, PSAP, for an amount of $85,012.48.
Consent.
And this is for furniture and cabling.
No objections, item going consent.
24-0204, resolution authorizing a contract with Cannon Cochran Management Services, Inc. to provide third-party administrative services for the city's general and auto liability and workers' compensation claims as of April 15, 2024.
Consent.
CCMSI handles many governmental entities and is well versed in these issues. The total price is $32,000.
No objection, Simon going consent.
Next one is 24-0208, a resolution authorizing the increase of $66,836 to the purchase price for the 2024 E1 Cyclone pumper for a total of $864,844. This increase is partly due to more powerful engine,
Consent.
increased storage area, and emergency scene lighting.
No objection, Simon going consent.
And Mr. Mayor, that concludes the Finance
I
Committee.
do have a question to Finance Chairman. When was this agenda released about everything that was on finance? What date?
Was
The
this,
information that we're going over now, when was it made public?
well, at least 48 hours prior.
48 hours ago. So I would expect that any alderman that actually has questions you are truly concerned about, that you don't wait till last minute when you get 48 hours of notice that these are coming through, because clearly you prepared for these questions. So you could have asked these beforehand, so our staff could have been prepared. So I would ask that you do that from this point on. So let's go on to the next committee report. Chairman Mike Seville, can you give the public health?
Point of order.
Sorry, what? I'm sorry,
Point of order.
Alderman Bug, question?
A statement. Any alderman has a right to ask a question.
All right, that's fine. I appreciate that, Alderman.
I
Hold on a
have to
second,
wait.
hold on a second. What I'm suggesting is this, and I think you can agree. Regardless of, you're right, any alderman has an opportunity to ask questions, but if you have this many questions and you are that concerned about the questions that you're asking, I would think that you would ask them beforehand so our staff would be prepared to answer the questions. Let's go on to the next item. Chairman Seville, can you give the Public Health, Safety, and Transportation Committee report?
Yes, the agenda for the PHS and CM March 26, 2024 was canceled. The meeting was canceled because there was no items, and that's the report.
Thank you, kind sir. Chairman Juan Garza, can you give the Infrastructure and Technology Committee report, please?
Yes, Mayor. We met on March 25th. The first item in the agenda is 24-0153, a resolution to execute the intergovernmental agreement between City of Aurora and Fox Valley Park District for Wabansi Lake Park.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
24-0160, a resolution authorizing the purchase of Babe Outdoors for donor company from the Water Production Division in the not to exceed amount of $569,163.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
24-0164, a resolution authorizing a memorandum of understanding with the Fox Valley Music Foundation for the calendar year of 2024.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
24-0171, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of the low bid for Anchor Mechanical Inc. of Chicago, Illinois, for the replacement of the rooftop HVAC units, the Aurora Police Department, TAS, and the Aurora Animal Control Facilities for $256,060 and the contingency for $12,803.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
24-0173, a resolution authorizing FH Fashion SN Nelson Associates using the City of Aurora job order contracting program for the performance masonry repairs to Riverside of the City Hall in the amount of $130,909.77 and contingency of $13,090.97.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
24-0185, a resolution to award the best PL in Greenwood Drive water main replacement project located in Ward 5 to Brand Excavating Inc. in the amount of $563,573.03.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
24-0196, a resolution authorizing the Director of Purchasing to enter into an agreement with the Aurora Wire and Fixture Company, Electric Conduit Construction, and the Flat Electric Inc. in cumulative amount not to exceed $450,000 for the relocation of existing electrical infrastructure for the vaults located under the sidewalk along Broadway from Benton Street to New York Street.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
And they conclude the meeting, Mayor.
Thank you very much. That concludes INT. Chairman Warman, can you give the Rules, Administration, and Procedure Committee report, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Rules Administration and Procedures Committee met on March 19th, 2024, and reviewed the following items. 24-0176, a resolution authorizing the reappointment of Charlie Zine to the Fox Walk Overlay District Design Review Committee.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
Next item on the agenda, 24-0178, a resolution approving the reappointment of Tony Martinez, Michael Nelson, Scott Sampson, and Christine Gorlick Weber to the Aurora Area Convention and Visitors Bureau Board.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
Next item on the agenda, 24-0182, a resolution approving the appointment of Kermit Bilbo, Myra Banos, Alexis Morales, Paul Domingos, and Noelo Ruiz to the Aurora, or to the Hispanic Heritage.
Consent.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
Next item on the agenda, 24-0188, resolution approving the reappointments of Terrence Lindsay, Jonathan Biritz, Hank Artlip to the city's administrative boards, including the Building Code Board of Appeals and the Permanent Building and Fire Code Committee.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
Next item on the agenda, 24-0189, a resolution approving the reappointment of Matthew Clegg, Burt Wickman to the city's administrative boards, Fire Code Board of Appeals, and the Permanent Building Fire Code Committee.
Consent.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
Next item on the agenda, 24-0190, a resolution approving the reappointments of David Mertz and Sean Thomas to the Electrical Commission.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
Next item, 24-0192, a resolution approving the reappointment of Christopher Minnick to the Aurora Firefighters Pension Fund Board.
Consent.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
Next item on the agenda, 24-0194, a resolution approving the appointment of Tiana Bailey to the Aurora Youth Council.
Consent.
No objections, item going consent.
Next item on the agenda, 24-0186, a discussion of the rules applicable to the solicitation of receipt and public and private gifts. I believe that was just an information only.
No action
Yeah.
required.
The next two items, they were just RAP committee resolutions. I don't know if I need to read those into record or not.
Go ahead.
Yeah. 24-0127, a resolution establishing the City of Aurora Award Scholarship template and application for all awards to use as a guideline for their scholarship programs. Next item, 24-0184, a resolution establishing the Aurora Solar and EV charging rebate pilot program for Alderman at Large Tom Leish.
All right.
And that concludes Rules Administration Proceedings.
All right, thank you very much. That concludes committee reports. Let's go into new business. Madam Clerk, will you read the first item under new business?
24-227, a resolution approving the appointment of Ariel Ricky Benjamin as Customer Relations Manager.
Consent.
No objection. This item will go on consent. We do have Ricky here in the room with us if anybody had any questions for her. Thank you. This item is on consent. See you next week at City Council. What's that? Ricky, you want to stand? For those that don't know you. You know what, tell you what, why don't you step up to the mic just for a second? Just introduce everyone to yourself and introduce yourself to everyone and tell them what you're doing over at.
I am Ricky Benjamin. I've been with the city for almost 11 years. Most of my time spent in property standards and development services. Prior to this position, I was the customer relations specialist in customer service, and prior to that, I was the office manager in development services, and also worked as a property maintenance compliance officer for the city of Aurora. I'm very excited for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Another round of applause for Ms. Benjamin. She does a great job for the city of Aurora. Let's go on to staff reports. Do we have Ms. Katrina Boatwright with us here today? Is she outside? Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Boatwright, who is our Senior and Disability Service Manager, she'll be making a presentation to us today.
Good evening. So I have a guest with me. Brad, come on up. How's everyone?
Good.
It's a pleasure to be here. All right, I have a presentation. Can you come up?
Thank you.
So this is Brad Winwick. He is from a partnership from the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. Sorry, I was coughing downstairs. And so he was a partner, a third-party partner with this project that we did. Can you announce it? Let me catch my breath.
We partnered well, as you can see. We literally finished one another's sentences if the need occurred.
I believe Maria's going to get some water.
Okay. Are you clear? Do you want me to?
Yeah, I think
jump
I'm
in?
good.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I had a coughing spell. And so this project, thank you so kindly. We did a Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus cohort on aging in a changing region. Brad was the representative as a consultant with them. He has his own consultant agency. And so we went on, we did kind of a supplement or a second part to my listening sessions. So I want to start with the foundation work that I've done so far in senior services to kind of catch you up to why this was a great next step and opportunity. Next slide. I don't have a clicker.
Next slide, control room.
Do we have a?
Perfect. So as you know, some of the foundational work I've done in senior services, I've done listening sessions, which you know that informed all the work that you see here, which was going from Operation Senior Shovel to the Line Support Program, creating the Senior Resource Guide, creating the Senior Swing Scramble, the first seniors only golf event. We're going into our third year of that, creating senior birthday cards, and doing the CARS program, which is a transportation program for seniors and persons with disabilities. And so all that foundational work led me to the opportunity to partner with the Metropolitan's Mayor's Caucus on their Aging in a Changing Region cohort, which is what they do as far as they partner with municipalities to really help them find out how do we advance, or for some, create or develop a process for aging in community and municipalities. And so once we partnered and found out, hey, this is what we're doing, and then it was a perfect opportunity for me to go into phase 2 of all of the aging and community work that I had done. And so that's when we partnered with Brad and the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, and Brad has been going to each municipality, helping to do these presentations and sharing all of the great work and the findings that we did as a part of that cohort. Those are the books that you have in front of you. I'm going to pass it off to Brad, and he's going to kind of take us through some of the highlights and how our municipality can continue aging in our community.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here, and I know your time is precious, so we'll go through this quickly. I do see you've got our final report in front of you. So just very briefly, when we say aging in community, we're looking at a big picture. Many people are familiar with the phrase aging in place, which is kind of the individual dwelling level. This is pulling it out to the municipal level. What sort of programs, services, plans can be put together to support residents, and what sort of spaces and places can help with physical and engagement needs. So the program that Katrina referenced is a partnership of the caucus and my organization, Planning Aging, and it's funded completely by RRF Foundation for Aging. We've had the opportunity to work for the last 3 years, and I've worked with 5 or 6 municipalities each year, and the services are provided at no cost whatsoever to any municipality. And pardon my crude map-making skills. I'm a little too old to be as good at GIS as some of the folks I know you've got working with you. But I do want to show that we've worked with a diverse set of municipalities, diverse in terms of their geography, their size, their type of community, their socioeconomics, their social, ethnic, racial diversity, and I'm very proud to show that we've really covered the region. And this is a program which is really not replicated anywhere throughout the country. The process is really simple. We convened a core team that Katrina and some of her colleagues put together. We spent a lot of time working together, mostly, online, planning and preparing for 2 community engagement workshops, after which I went back and put together the document that you've got in front of you, which was informed by everything I learned from the core team and from the folks who attended the workshops. The first workshop, as the core team had selected, was primarily residents. We got a good crowd, and I'm very pleased that the core team pressed me and said, let's make sure that for our population, we do the entire workshop in a bilingual way. So it was bilingual, simultaneously translated, and we had it was wonderful to know that we had supported the community in this way. The second workshop was a group of stakeholders, and looking around the room, I see that the council itself was recognized. Alderman Donald gave his morning to be with us. We had a very activated group of stakeholders from throughout the municipality. Consistent with the bilingual workshop, through the support of Katrina and her staff and the community, this is the only municipality whose document has been produced bilingually. I'm ashamed to admit I had very little to do with 50% of these documents. I put together the English one, and people who can speak Spanish, and I'm ashamed to admit that I can't, translated it in its entirety, and I will presume that it was translated magnificently and, faithfully. The document itself, as you're paging through it, is fairly simple. It starts with an executive summary, then it gives some context. We talk about the history of a lot of the work that Katrina and the community have done leading up to this. We talk about community engagement, talk about what we heard, what we learned, what residents told us the municipality needs, and then I made a series of recommendations, and at the end of the document, there's some resources. Very quickly, the recommendations were divided into 3. The service environment recommendation, some of which have already started to be implemented. We'll hear about that in a moment. Forming a commission, taking a whole of government approach, incorporating aging and community in other municipal programs and initiative, really building up an opportunity for both businesses and the faith community to play an important role in this initiative, and develop some further partnerships with some of the local educational partners. I think there's, there we go. There's a social and information environment recommendations. Get the word out, amplify your commitment, be the leader amongst communities. A lot of the communities in the region look up to Aurora for reasons that you know better than I. Amplify your commitment and engagement with aging and community. I recommended that every department identify staff as point persons for older adults in the community who might not be able to handle the entirety of municipal government. Be point persons. I know that Katrina and her folks have put together resource guides, which is truly wonderful, and that maybe then another step would be to give those resources a physical place, be it a table in an existing building or a freestanding building someday. Who knows? Maybe it's part of a senior center someday. A lot of folks said they had a desire to be involved with the community. Maybe that's centralize this with a volunteer center. And the last one, I just think it's really important that the community, and this is not something that Aurora needs to hear like so many of the other communities with whom I work need to hear, but don't just try to speak about and to and for your older adults. Consciously practice anti-ageism. It's another ism that we need to be very conscious and careful that we speak carefully and truthfully and empower people. I made a number of physical environmental recommendations. Aurora, with the complexity and the size of the community, needs to think about a neighborhood level. So I asked for setting up and doing some assessments at the neighborhood level of their current aging and community support. Are there gaps? Are there things that each community, each ward can do? I heard a lot of people speak to wanting more informal gathering spaces for older adults, but for all residents throughout the community. And so much of what I'm saying, please don't think that I'm only thinking about or caring about older adults just because a few of your residents and a few of us have had a certain number of birthdays in our past. Much of what I'm saying, I believe, and I espouse, is beneficial to the community, notwithstanding the age of the residents that you're thinking of. So much of what will support aging in community will support community development, being the type of wonderful, livable community that you're working to be. Ramp up the community development department. I have to say, Chris was part of the core team, and I've gotten to know that you've got a really strong community development department. Integrating their work with aging and community has already started, and continue that. I know, and I've seen, and I see on LinkedIn some of the marvelous new housing and affordable housing and older adult housing that the community has supported. Keep viewing housing issues in part through an aging and community lens. I don't think I need to tell you that I think you're already doing. Continue to partner with both the Housing Authority and some of the providers that were part of our workshops. Explore possibly adding missing middle housing, some of the smaller, maybe more dense housing types, to just make sure that Aurora supports and has a diversity of housing types that supports aging and community. And at the point you decide to either update or replace your comprehensive plan, I gave a couple of resources of some of the plans that I've seen from around the country that do a good job of incorporating an aging and community lens to the new comprehensive plan.
So to date, after having this, we ended this at the end of November, and the plan came out around the end of January, February, and so the implementation thus far, my new efforts have been, we have been going through the process, as you know, to establish an Aging and Community Advisory Board. Hopefully you guys are passing that this evening. I've also begun, since those meetings, having quarterly meetings with stakeholders. The stakeholders that participated in these listening sessions were meeting quarterly to really develop a citywide aging plan and making sure we're working together. They got copies of this. They're excited about the work and the opportunities to elevate this work in our city and to create a greater collaborative to really impact and move these opportunities forward. I also have an Aging in Place safety program that's coming out midsummer that's going to be another aging and community opportunity to really bring more safety mechanisms to our seniors. So I'm excited to announce that. And a lot of what we discuss in our stakeholders meetings is how do we create a larger platform for volunteer efforts around senior support. And all of the agencies are willing to come together to figure that out. And we're looking at creating a massive referral system that's in place. So whenever there's a senior that comes in, we give them a starting point and build a path for them to go through to how to identify the right resources. And these were all efforts that came out of the listening sessions from our Aging and Community opportunity. So we've already put a lot of things into action. Although we have work to do, we're on the move.
So the next steps, I think, largely reiterate some of what Katrina just said. Just keep up the good work. To be quite candid, I've not worked in many communities that had already been doing such marvelous work in the realm of supporting its older adults and aging in community as had Aurora. So keeping up the good work is really the key point I have here. And feel free to reach out to me. I live around, so Katrina knows my phone is always on, and my email. I will always respond when I see Katrina Boatwright's name cross my screen. In closing, if anybody needs any further information or would like to see any of the work that we've done for any of the other communities, my partners at the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus have them all accessible on a web page, which you can see. Feel free to reach out. And finally, he said, in closing, thank you very much for giving me the chance, not just to be here tonight, but to work with the community. And I have to raise up the core team that I got a chance to work with. In addition to the force of nature that you know as Katrina and Chris Ragona, I got to work with Michelle and Ruthie and Marty and Viviana and citizens, Gina and Mickey Miller from Senior Services Associates. So I had the pleasure and the honor of working with a wonderful core team from whom I learned a lot. And I hope you're pleased and satisfied with the work, and that I continue to hear good things about how Aurora continues to support aging in community. Thank you very much. If anybody has any questions?
Questions?
I
Alderman Smith.
I actually have a question. This is a wonderful piece of literature, and I look forward to looking at it more closely. But I do have a question about our other counties. When you went on your listening session, did that happen in Will, DuPage, and Kendall as well?
The listening sessions only happened in our city, but everyone in the city, as far as seniors, as far as announcement, were invited to participate. A lot of the services, outcomes, and things that were shared is for those that live in Aurora, no matter the county they live in. We got feedback from those that lived
Okay, but when you
anywhere.
say live in our city, these people live in our city as well. And I'm not, certainly not trying to make a negative, not
No,
at all.
no.
And then, and as I look at all of these percentiles and number counts, they all are just Kane County. I just need to know, what as I read through this is just Kane County. It doesn't, we haven't included the other 3 counties that are part of our city in this information.
Brad can speak to the data.
No, all of the data is census data, so it is broken out by counties, and the data that you're looking at, the demographics, is through census data that's put together for Aurora. So my understanding is it includes the folks who live regardless of what county, what part of the city they're in.
So in these multiple places where it says Kane County, it really means all of 4 counties? Here, I'll show you. There's, yeah, we can, I don't want to keep anybody
The
else.
answer is yes. When I put this together, I just benchmarked comparing it to a county, and since, Kane is the largest single county that, includes Aurora, I compared it to Kane just to show how Aurora's population compared to Kane County and then to the region overall.
Okay.
So,
As we move forward, it would be best if we included all 4 counties.
Well, and Ms. Bowler, if I'm not mistaken, that's exactly what you said. You said,
Yes.
it includes all counties. It doesn't matter what county you lived in. So the question, I guess,
Right.
Ms. Alderman Smith has is, do we know if individuals that participated were from other counties, or were they
Oh,
just?
absolutely. I can think of a couple that came in from DuPage, maybe 1 or 2 from Kendall. We don't get as many that participate from Will, but we do from the other three counties. The data that Brad and Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus put together, they did that comparison to make sure we had something to compare to where we are now, how we're going to progress. If it's not inclusive of all the counties in the data, that probably is something that was missed, right?
I think it might just be the way it's written. And I'm certainly not meaning, I just, when I look through this, I just kind of want to know, it's just probably the way it was written that we do have all.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, but anyone that knows the work that I do, and maybe the presentation or the way he created the summary packet wasn't clear as how inclusive it is, but the work that's done through communities, through senior services, is inclusive of all of our residents that live in all of our counties.
Thank you.
Alderman Lesh?
I'll try and keep it quick. You had mentioned an informal gathering space as one of the potential outcomes, and then I also saw something called volunteer center. Are those things in envisioning a space where people can come together and the volunteer center, sort of the same concept?
Well, the concept hasn't been flushed out. Those were recommendations that him and the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus made for us based off what they heard, right? So these were things that were discussed in the sessions, things that people want, assessing how we can advance our aging and community opportunities. And so looking at those recommendations, we're going to figure out then what would that look like? Is there some that we can kind of collectively do together? Are these things that should be done individually? So to your answer, we haven't looked at that particular recommendation and decided how are we going to move that forward?
Okay.
And I would say, in response to your question, those both link to the big question there, which is how do you battle social isolation, which is a big issue, and it's only a more complex issue as people age. So they could link together. They don't necessarily have to. And as Katrina said, that remains in how it gets fleshed out.
And then one more question as it relates to the survey itself. I see we had 2 listening sessions, engagement sessions. Did we actually survey, like send something in the mail to seniors in the city of Aurora? And then I didn't really see anything with respect to transportation as a potential need.
Yeah, you know, we were surprised it didn't come up as much this listening round.
Yeah.
And maybe because I kind of brought some solutions so far to that, and so maybe they didn't have nothing to talk about because we've already kind of created some intermediate solutions. So that wasn't a hot topic.
And just so everybody's aware, what is that immediate solution that you created about a year ago?
Well, the City of Aurora Ride Solution is called CARS, and I don't know if you have or haven't heard of it. We haven't done a public announcement yet, even though that will be coming soon, but we created based on listening sessions, we created this transportation program in partnership with some of our community stakeholders, with Senior Services, with AID, with Weston Bridges, and with VNA. And we help supplement ride transportation for their clients based on their transportation barriers. When they can't get their clients to a medical appointment or to get food because the mileage is too far, then that's where we come in. When they don't have volunteer drivers and they can't get their clients to a certain location, that's where we come in. If they don't have money to pay for something, or if they're riding cane and they can't get out of cane, we make sure that every barrier that those partners have, our City of Aurora Ride Solution Transportation Program gets these clients to their destination. It has been going phenomenal. We haven't had any negative responses. The seniors are super excited, and persons with disabilities. They have mobile transportation to make sure they can get there. And maybe that's why they didn't bring it up, because I've already kind of come up with an intermediate solution for that. So,
Yep. Okay, thank you. My compliments to you for your work, and to you, Mayor, for appointing Ms. Boatwright. Thank you.
Any other questions? And I do have a final question. As we know that our baby boomers are all aging at the exact same time.
Yes.
So, aging in our community at the exact same time.
Aging in our community.
Right. So, recognizing that there's going to be a large need all at once, how are we going to address that need with such a large impact?
You know, that's something I saw your mouth moving. Go ahead, Brad.
I was going to say, since you're speaking to the crowd here, that's exactly why 12 years ago I decided to focus on this, to help municipalities recognize and to kind of battle back against some of the ageist way that this conversation is so often framed. It's framed in medical or needy ways, or it's likened to natural disasters, the silver tsunami sort of things. Let's look at it as we've got this marvelous resource of experienced folks who live in a community by and large because they've developed roots in the community. So absolutely, that concept is woven in to the entirety of the endeavor.
Yeah, a lot of the work that we're doing is preparing for that. I'm not a very reactive kind of person. I'm definitely a proactive person. And so creating accessibility is going to be very detrimental, right? Coming up with some of these things, putting things in place so that our seniors, as they age, they want to stay in our city and age well and age in a healthy manner. And so we understand, and to your point, in the next 10 to 20 years, these percentages are going to jump highly. And we're doing our best, Mayor, to get ready for that and not waiting to the last minute, but putting things in place so as they're aging, they say, I'm good here. I want to stay here. And that's making them happy. That's making sure they have access to health. They can get where they need to go. It's making sure they have housing, making sure they can age in place, making sure they can be outside, and making sure they have intergenerational connectivity. They want to feel vibrant and connected to the city. And everything that I put forth is trying to make sure we're getting prepared for those numbers.
Thank you very much, Ms. Boatwright, and thank you for your team for putting this together. The great presentation, and we look forward to hearing more from you. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, there is no need for a closed session, but before we entertain that motion from Carl Franco and that second from Alderman Franco and Alderman Smith, and Alderman Smith, I want to announce that finally this will be the last Committee of the Whole or City Council meeting on the 5th floor. We are finally going to be returning to our City Council chambers coming up next week. So I've already spoken to the Chief of Staff in the Alderman's office. Rich is going to be talking to the Alderman about introducing you to the new technology down on the 2nd floor and introducing you to the new council chambers so we can all be prepared and ready to roll when we get in there on next week on the 8th. And we got a few surprises, that we're looking to. The committee meetings will still be up here for a while until we get all the technology set for the committee meetings. But we'll be set for at least the council meetings downstairs, and eventually, soon after, the committee meetings will be down there as well. So look for some surprises, maybe from an alderman or two. I can't say for sure about how we'll introduce the new city council chambers next week. So with that being a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting, all in favor? Aye. This meeting is adjourned.